sure that I got everything here. We are here with day 9. This is day 9 of Lead Your Health. And we're going to be talking about rewriting your health narrative. Just go ahead and say hi as you pop in. Glennis! How's my BFF? So as you're watching, just go ahead and say hello. Like I said, we're going to be talking about rewriting your health narrative. Basically, what have you been telling yourself over the last number of years as far as your health is concerned? And how can you shift what you've been telling yourself to create better health for you? All right, so I came on for a little bit yesterday. Hi, Miss Nancy. It's good to see you. I came on for just a little bit yesterday because I was actually visiting with my son and my granddaughter, and we were kind of hoping to see a launch that was scheduled for yesterday, but nature would not have it that way. So it's been rescheduled for this coming Saturday. This is the first time that they're actually sending astronauts to the ISS since the shuttle program had ended. Hi, Sandra. So it was exciting sitting there waiting, but then of course we saw the storm clouds, and then there was a tornado warning. So yeah, it was scrubbed. But hopefully everything goes well this coming Saturday. I won't be able to watch it because of course I traveled back to Tampa, so I won't be able to see it, not live in person anyway, but I should be able to watch it on social media, right? Which is just as exciting because, like I said, it's the first time that they're actually sending astronauts up to the International Space Station since they shut down the shuttle program. Anyway, we're not here to talk about that. We're here to talk about rewriting your health narrative, okay? Right? There's a story about how we were conceived. You may or may not know it. There's stories about our parents. We have stories about our families. We were born into stories about the world. I'm sure that if you typed in your birthday or what was going on fill in your birthday here, there's a ton of things that would come up that, you know, was happening around the time of your birth, right? Because I've done it and we come up with some interesting things. So there's stories that were happening in the world at the time of your birth. There's stories around how you were conceived, how you were born, what happened. You know, if you sit down and talk to your mom, she'd probably have some horror stories about how she was in labor for 9 days and, you know, all of this other stuff. And some of that's true. I was in labor for days with pretty much all of my children. So, you know, when I tell them that, they're sitting there and you can kind of see them, you know, but it's not to torture them or anything. It's like, it was hell bringing you into this world. So we have a lot of different stories, right, surrounding a lot of different topics. But today we're going to talk about health and the kind of stories that we've been telling ourselves or that other people have been kind of, you know, imposing on us throughout the years as far as our health is concerned. Whether that be our health is good or whether it's bad. If you're dealing with something that's chronic or you just seem to pick up every cold and flu that comes around, then there's something in our body that needs to shift. There's something in our mindset that needs to shift as far as our health is concerned, right? Because we should be at a point where we're creating a strong immune system so that we're not picking up everything that comes around. Right now, everything is so, it's really challenging in this day and age because of the coronavirus that's going around. People are stressed. They don't want to go out into the public. God forbid somebody comes, you know, within 6 feet of you. You're scared. If somebody coughs, I've actually seen people's reaction in the grocery store when, you know, somebody coughs and you can see them kind of jump back, right? Because we're scared. We're scared to touch people. We're scared for people to hug us. We're scared to hug people because we don't know what's going to be transferred, right? So that's a huge narrative that's being created right now as far as health. We're just scared to be among people because we don't know what people are carrying as far as the type of germs. So we learn our language through story. our parents talk to us, or we have other relatives that talk to us. So that's how we, hello Paula, that's how we pick up on our language skills. Sometimes we're itty bitty. So we learn our language as a whole lot. I'm sure that your parents could tell you stories around your language skills, because I know for my oldest son, he couldn't pronounce my daughter's name. My daughter's name is Siobhan, but my oldest son couldn't pronounce her name when he was about 2, 3, 4 years old. So we tell him stories all the time about the way that he used to pronounce different things. When I was growing up with my sister Tasha, there were certain words that she couldn't pronounce, and I thought it was kind of cute. But as time goes on, you kind of readjust the way that pronunciation is done, and it's the same thing with our health, right? The older we get, I think the wiser we should get as far as our health is concerned. And I think every video I've done so far, I keep saying your diet has a lot to do with your health. What you put into your mouth, you can control, and that leads to either health or disease, right? We make the meaning as far as our world is concerned based on stories. So wherever you live, and right now the narrative of that is probably around the same. We're all kind of quarantined in our homes. Some places are gradually opening up. Grocery stores are gradually opening up. Restaurants are gradually opening up. The beaches here are wide open. So the world is gradually opening up again, but the one narrative that we all have in common right now is this thing called coronavirus. That is pretty much kind of dictating our stories for the time being, right? But that doesn't necessarily mean that's going to be a permanent thing. So we use all of these stories to kind of create the decisions that we're going to be making, but we also use these stories to create the kind of change that we want to make, right? Change that we want to make as far as our health is concerned, changes we want to make as far as our family's health is concerned. One of the things that I thought was kind of interesting was there's a term that's been flying around, and I started using this several weeks back when someone told me, oh my gosh, I've gained so much weight since quarantine. I just seem to just want to eat, and I just can't stop eating, right? And it wasn't just this person. There were quite a few others who were posting on social media saying how they were gaining so much weight and they didn't know how to stop because they were just so bored and all they wanted to do was eat. And I think it's because we have been so conditioned that we have to be chewing on something all the time. Either it's for comfort or whatever the case might be, right? But we've been conditioned to always be chewing, and that's not how our ancestors were. They were pretty much eating whenever food was available. If they went out hunting and they managed to bring home a deer, that deer was going to last them for an extended period of time, right? So it wasn't something that they were, they couldn't just go to the grocery store and buy all of these prepackaged things and snacks in these lovely little aluminum containers and take home and it was always available. They weren't raised that way. That's not how it was. But I think for us, we have been conditioned to for it to seem like food was always available. And then if we're watching a movie, we have to have a snack like popcorn or chips or something sitting in our lap for us to be chewing on. Or if we are celebrating something, there has to be a major cake. And I'm not knocking the celebration part, but I think you understand what I mean, is that the culture is such that there has to be food all the time. We haven't been raised, I think, to really know what hunger is or to go without food for an extended period of time. And I'm going to talk a little bit about this fast that I'm doing coming up. I mentioned it, I think, 2 live streams ago. But we're just conditioned to always be eating. So I know the term was quarantine 15. And then after a while, I noticed like everybody was using it, right? And it's I brought that up because my daughter, when she went to college, that's one of the things that most freshmen when they start off college, they tend to gain about 15 pounds at the beginning of college or that first year, right, as a freshman. And it's the same thing now with people being so cooped up in homes that they constantly want to eat. So the term quarantine 15 has been the one. And it's not just around, it's everybody, even the people who are notorious for being healthy all the time. There was one guy on Instagram, I saw his picture this morning, and he did a before and an after, and he was I believe a health coach. And on his before picture, he's got this absolutely really good looking six-pack. And hi Lorianne, it's good to see you. Really handsome guy, well built, muscles, a toned everything, and that six-pack was just gorgeous. And then in his after, he's sitting on his motorbike, and you can see a little bit of a pudge from the few pounds that he puts on. So it's not just the normal everyday person. Even the health coaches are having, and the bodybuilders are having trouble trying to keep that weight off, right? And it's because we have just been so conditioned to always be putting food in our mouth. And the thing is, it's not just the food that we put in our mouth, is what kind of foods are we putting in our mouth? Is it the food that's going to contribute to health, or is it going to contribute to illness a little bit down the road? But that's a whole other live right there. All right, so when I first heard that term lupus, I hadn't even been diagnosed yet. It was just a suspicion on the part of my doctor. But I'd been tested, right? And everything had gone off. So when I heard the term lupus, I hadn't even heard about it before. So I decided I was going to do a little bit of research. So I went home and I jumped on my laptop, and that's probably the worst thing to do after you hear something like that, right? But I decided I was going to do a little bit of research about this illness called lupus. But it was a specific, they said it was systemic lupus erythematosus, which is basically where your entire body, the systemic, where your whole body gets is affected. Because there are different types of lupus. There's a discoid lupus, which affects your skin predominantly. And you can also develop lupus when you're, after you're pregnant. The point is there are different types. But mine was the systemic lupus erythematosus. So I decided I was going to do a little bit of research. And everything in my research was coming up saying lupus was incurable. And even my doctor told me lupus is incurable. If this is the diagnosis, you're going to have it for life. And this is what he kept telling me. This is what the research was telling me. And after finding research, then I was, once you put in a particular search word, then all of a sudden everything starts feeding you with everything related to that particular search word, right? So I was finding groups of people who had been diagnosed with lupus, and I was meeting other people who had been diagnosed with lupus. So, and everything that they had been told was also lupus is incurable. Once you have it, you're going to have it for life. So they had pretty much kind of latched on to the term incurable because that's what they had found out, and that's what all the doctors had been telling them. Okay, so I made a bunch of notes because I wanted to make sure to keep myself on track because I could just keep talking about this. But was it the narrative that I chose to believe as truth by, my doctor kept telling me upon the final diagnosis that lupus was incurable? Was it something I chose to believe? Or did I decide that I was not going to latch on to that one word, incurable, and I was definitely going to heal myself from this illness, right? And I'm saying this because I'm going to be, let me just flip my page because like I said, I have a bunch of notes. So to be honest, for a few months, several months, at least maybe 8 months, I actually had latched on to it and said, okay, lupus is incurable. I get that. I accept it. Now what am I going to do about it? Here I was with 3 young children, and I had a job or a career at the time, and I've now been handed this diagnosis as an incurable illness. And for a while, I held on to that, and one morning, that date was February 9th, 2013. I woke up, it was a Saturday morning. Hi, my friend. Hi, Donna. February 9th, 2013, I woke up. It was a Saturday morning, and I was lying on the couch. And I was just feeling so ill. And I looked at my daughter and my youngest son, and I said, I need you guys to come with me somewhere. I'm going to go to that little herbal shop that I keep seeing at the side of the road. And I'm going to find out if there's anything else that I can do in addition to all of this pharmaceutical. And I really wish I had that bag. I think I have it in storage, but I have a big bag. And Donna, you've seen it, all the medication that I was on. So I have a friend in here, Donna. We're like sisters now. We've known each other for years. Our kids went to taekwondo together, got black belts together. We got black belts together. So but she has seen this bag of medication that I was on. And I woke up that one morning, that Saturday morning, and I took 2 pills that morning. One was heart medication and one was the lupus medication. The only 2 that I took. And I said, well, let's go to see, go to this herbalist and let's see if there's anything else, because I really need to do something different. I can't be feeling like this all the time. And if you've read the different articles that I've written, you know just how sick I was. But I needed to make a change. I hadn't been able to play with my kids because I was always in chronic pain. I couldn't go to the beach because I couldn't get into the sun. I mean, I went to the beach, but I was always sitting under a huge umbrella. I had long sleeve shirts on. I had a hat on, and it was just like I had to either sit under a coconut tree away from the sun. I had to sit under a huge umbrella. I couldn't venture into the water for maybe just a few minutes, and it wasn't fun, right? I couldn't play with my kids because I was always in so much pain. So there was a lot of life I was missing out on. Friends would call me saying, do you want to go out on this particular Friday night? Let's just go out and have some fun, whatever. And I was like, yeah, sounds like fun. Let's do it. And then come Friday afternoon, because lupus is completely unpredictable. It doesn't care about your social life, right? I had to call and cancel because I was in no physical condition to go out and have a good time with my friends. So of course it affected my social life. It affected the relationships I had with these friends, and some of them were not friends to this day, right? Hi Morris, it's good to see you. So I end up losing a lot of friends. So this was the narrative at one point of my life where friends ended friendships. I wasn't able to play with my kids the way that I wanted to, and it was just not a good thing, right? But I decided on February 9th, 2013, that was all going to change. So I got up, my two younger kids went with me. We drove to this herbal place, and I walk in, and I'm talking to Annika, who's the person who currently runs Mrs. Mango's shop in Rockledge, Florida. I credit that place with saving my life that day. So I walk in and I said, this is my diagnosis, and I need to know if you have any kind of herbal supplements that I could start taking. And the first thing she handed me was some capsules made of frankincense, turmeric, and ginger. And she said, I want you to start taking these. And she told me exactly how many and when, how often. And then she gave me something else. But in between that consultation with her, I was running back and forth outside thinking I was going to hurl because I was feeling extremely sick. Well, if you've seen videos prior, you'll know how that ended. I ended up collapsing in a very graceful collapse. If you ask my daughter, she was describing it. And she says, Mom, it was just the most beautiful collapse I think I've ever seen. And I haven't really seen much. But I ended up collapsing in that store that day. Ended up at the emergency room where I was told, to make a long story short, where I was told, after they asked me what medications I took, and I told them, they said those 2 medications should never have been taken together. They should never even have been prescribed together. So that day I made the conscious decision that I was going to not take any pharmaceutical medications. I had to gradually cut them down, of course. I couldn't just go cold turkey. But I ended up making that decision, and I took steps over the last number of years that got me from a near-death. That was actually my second near-death experience on February 9th, 2013, to where I am today. And if you, like I said, if you've read my articles, you see the dramatic change. I was at a point, and my friend Donna again can tell you, where I was using a cane and I was using a walker. I couldn't go to the grocery store because just walking through there, sometimes I would have to use the motorized chair. And now I'm able to run 3.5, 4 miles on the treadmill every day. And I went back into training with the martial arts, so all of that was good. But the thing is, you've got to start telling yourself a whole other narrative. I stopped believing that lupus was incurable. I said there's got to be a way for me to heal my body from all of this autoimmunity. And I started doing a lot of research into herbal therapy, into sound therapy, lots of other therapies that I've been using, and that worked. But the moment I switched my mind from this is incurable and I'm going to have it for the rest of my life over to no, my body has the ability to heal itself. The body is built to be able to heal itself. Hi, Michelle. And once I made that switch, then everything changed. Everything changed. And you saw the emotional change that was made, the physical changes that started to happen as soon as I changed that narrative from being incurable to no, it is definitely curable and I am going to prove it. My doctors don't necessarily believe me. I've gone to different rheumatologists who have looked at my blood work and said, this is impossible. You had to have been misdiagnosed. But then when they look at the original diagnosis and all of my blood work, all of the paperwork, they said, no, that's really a lupus diagnosis. But your current blood work doesn't indicate that there's any lupus present in your body. But that's impossible. No, it's not. Because I am living proof that if you take the measures and you change your mindset and you eat the way that you're supposed to and whatever other therapies that you need to do, you can change the whole narrative. So I just turned 51 years old. According to my doctors, I should have died when I was about 45. Hello. So, change the narrative, change your life. Change the narrative around your health. And you know the saying, health is wealth? Well, that's true. When you have your health, everything else can fall into place. You could be the wealthiest person on the planet and you get sick with some chronic thing. Your money, you're not thinking about your money. Well, you're probably thinking about how much of it you're going to lose. But all of a sudden, your health becomes the most important thing. But when you have your health, everything else starts to fall into place. Your relationships start to fall into place because one partner is no longer worried about the other partner and focusing on taking care of that other partner. Rather, they're now working together, right? And that's the beauty of having your health. Health really is wealth. So change the narrative that you've been telling yourself. If you are eating as healthy as you possibly can, but you're telling yourself that, every time you look in the mirror that you're fat or that you're this, you're not really helping yourself, because remember, your body is taking on all of the messages that you're telling yourself. Michelle saying it's breaking up, not sure if it's on my side or not. Are you all having any issues understanding? I'm hoping not, because I've been on here for a while. Everybody else seems to be good. It might be on your side, Michelle. The replay is going to be here, though. I'm not going to take down this video, so if you're having any problems, just okay, that's good, because it'll be recorded. So change the way that you're talking to yourself, and if you're not eating healthy, then that of course is part of your narrative. You've got to say, okay, I want to be healthy. And I'm going to be healthy, but everything that you're putting into your mouth is not contributing to your health, then because they're not matching up, of course you're not going to get health from that. What you tell yourself and what you're feeding yourself should match up if you want health, right? So if you want to be healthy, you're telling yourself that you're healthy, but you're feeding yourself food that is not going to be nutritious for you, then of course that part has to change. So you've got to. All right. So Miss Nancy said she's not having any problems. All right. So you have to change the narrative around your health in order to be able to me change your life, because I'm totally different now from what I was back in 2013. Like I said, back then I couldn't even play with my kids. And now I have a granddaughter and I can run around with her, can be on the playground, run around in the woods where we like to play. So I am so much more active now, and like I said, I can now get on the treadmill and I can run again 3.5 to 4 miles a day, and still train. I can dance. I can get up and do everything that I want to do, because I changed the narrative around my health and told myself, yes, I can be healthy. No, lupus is not incurable. It is completely curable, and I'm going to prove it, and I did. So for any of you who are suffering from any kind of chronic illness, start changing the way that you view what they consider to be the chronic illness. And I know that not every illness or disease is the same, but I believe that the narrative with which you speak to that illness can affect the change that you're looking for. I'm hoping that that makes sense. All right. So first thing, how do you change that narrative? The first thing to do is to ask yourself, what is your current health story that you're telling yourself? Right? So you have to get kind of deep and really examine your thoughts around your health. So what kind of story are you telling? And is this the story that you want to be telling yourself as far as your future is concerned? Because remember, whatever you tell yourself now, that's affecting your present, but it's also affecting your future. Right? And what kind of shifts do you need to make in order to create the new story of the health that you want? Your new health narrative. Okay? So you have to reflect on your past narrative, and then after you've reflected on your past narrative, then you're going to design your new narrative. What do you want to feel like? What did you feel like in the past? That's your reflection, but what do you want to feel like right now? Do you want to wake up every single morning with tons of energy to get your stuff done, to be able to hang out with your kids or your grandkids? What do you need to eat, or what do you need to remove from your diet in order to be able to start feeling the way that you want to feel? Right? What do you need to remove? You have to consciously pursue how you want to feel. And this might sound I love certain sweets, right? There's a Japanese dessert called mochi. They even make ice cream now, the mochi ice cream. I'm not a huge sweets fan, but there are certain things that I do like to eat. I know that if I eat a donut right now, in about 3 or 4 hours, my stomach is going to be hurting yeah. I know I'm going to be in excruciating pain. If I eat some Irish potatoes right now, I know that I'm going to be bloated 6 hours from now. So these are the kind of things, and I know this because I started journaling and I started documenting everything that I was eating and how it made me feel. This might be something you want to do. I know that if I eat sweet potatoes, and I'm going to clarify this, sweet potatoes, not candied yams. I've seen people, eat candied yams and say, oh, I'm eating sweet potatoes. No, you're basically eating sweet potatoes that has loads of sugar that's been poured on there, melted marshmallows, that it has gone from being anti-inflammatory to being an extremely inflammatory food. So the way that I do my sweet potatoes is with, after I bake it, I sprinkle a little bit of, just a little bit of sugar on it with some cinnamon, and then, bake it in the oven. But I don't go loading it up with sugar and marshmallows and all of that stuff, because at that point it becomes extremely, it causes a lot of inflammation. There's an anti-inflammatory diet that you can do some research on. that will give you a lot of information about different foods that you can eat for health. But I brought up the candied yams part because I've seen a lot of people saying, oh, well, this is part of the anti-inflammatory diet. No, it's not. Sweet potatoes is, candied yams isn't. Let me make sure. Okay, so I've talked about health being wealth and food. Food is medicine. I've always said that. Tips are you try to maintain as healthy a diet as you possibly can. Number 2, get regular exercise, plenty of exercise. I keep harping on that. Number 3, spend more time out in nature. I love to go to the beach. I'm an island girl, so water is my thing. But I spend a lot of time out under the trees and that sort of thing. I love to dig in the dirt. I'm always planting something. Get regular sleep, and I know that's hard for a lot of people. To be honest, I probably sleep maybe 5 or 6 hours a night, which I know is not good, but it's just part of me. But get yourself a regular sleep schedule. Reduce your stress load. Stress is a dominant factor when it comes to illness. Learn something new. Stimulate your brain. I know one of the things that I've been doing during this whole quarantine is learning as much as I could. There are different programs that I've been actually I think it was during this time that I became a master herbalist. Or I got that certification back in November, just when Corona had started to kind of make its entrance into the world, I guess, or into the rest of the world. So but I'm always trying to learn something. So try to stimulate your brain just by learning something new. Learn different relaxation techniques, whether it's meditation, prayer, breath work, but whatever works for you as far as meditating. Maybe it's literally going outside and smelling the roses. That can be therapeutic in itself. So try to come up with different, these are just different tips on how you can start to live a little healthier, Number 8 is to get therapy, whether it's simply a chat with your girlfriends on the phone, or you get together for a drink, or something more serious, you go and see a therapist or a counselor. But get whatever kind of therapy that you feel you might need. When you've got your health, you've got everything. Because with your health, you're able to go out and get to work. Your relationships don't suffer because you're not having to choose between staying home and sleeping, getting over the pain, versus going out with your friends. And I mentioned that earlier about how a lot of my relationships suffered. When you have your health, the money issues, that's not a huge factor because you are able, like I said, to go out and get a job or build a business where you're able to maintain the financial aspect of it. But without it, you basically kind of spend your time, being sick and trying to get over one sickness or another, or your relationships suffer, your gut health. It's just, sickness puts a lot of strain on everything. So rewrite your health narrative. So whatever it is that you're telling yourself, you go back and watch this video as many times as you need to. Write down the tips that I'm giving. I have a group called Lead Your Health. If you want to join, just simply, just click the join here. I think that's the button. I go into a lot deeper levels as far as some of these things are concerned. And the group is fairly small. I think right now we only have about 12 people in there. But I go into a lot more detail, and I go into a lot on a much deeper level with a lot of these factors that I'm talking about. But the bottom line is you can change your life. You can change your narrative around what you've been telling yourself as far as your health is concerned. All right, it does take a little bit of work because there's some shifts that have to be made. You can't tell yourself that you are healthy when you're feeding yourself something that you know is unhealthy, because you can't drink poison and say, oh, this is not going to kill me, this is not going to kill me, this is not going to kill me. It's poison. So if you're feeding yourself food that is basically, basically poison, telling yourself over and over that you're healthy is not going to work. So whatever shifts you make up here do have to connect with the shifts that you're making in the external world as well. Okay, I do hope that makes sense. Does anybody have any questions? I know I've been talking and talking and talking, But if you have any questions, just feel free to post them below. I'm basically here to tell you this can be done. You can get healthy. It doesn't matter how many doctors have told you you have this particular, let me go ahead and close this. These are all my notes. It doesn't matter how many doctors have told you that you have an incurable illness. I've seen people heal from cancer simply by changing the way that they eat, by being around the right people, they were having the right doctors. My doctors really didn't believe that I could heal myself from lupus. I ended up finding a new doctor. If you have a doctor who's telling you you can't get well, it's time to find another doctor, because you want to be among people who are going to be aligned with what you're seeking, which is complete health. So if you're around people who are just constantly feeding into the illness part and constantly reminding you of your diagnosis, you need to get away from that particular group and find yourself another group that's going to be encouraging you in your search for health, and encouraging you in eating the right foods, and encouraging you in finding the right relationships that are going to contribute to your health, encouraging you to go into the right places, finding the right doctor. I could go on and on. So there's a lot of shifts that need to be made, but it can be done. So start by, I think I've given this tip before, grab yourself a little journal, start journaling your foods that you eat on a daily basis, how each of those particular foods make you feel. Is there anything that needs to be taken out of your diet? What else can be put in? And I also mentioned in the past about taking what's called the dosha test, DOSHA, which is basically a body type test, and it's an Ayurvedic test. It tells you what your specific body type is. It tells you what type of foods you should eat to encourage health for your body type. Some of the things that you're eating right now may not necessarily cause you harm, but they may not necessarily be good for your body anyway, right? So this particular dosha test will actually kind of help you to figure out the foods that you should be eating for your body type. And I know it gets hard when everybody in the home has a different body type, and having to cook for all the different body types, but the thing is, you're encouraging health in everyone. So I hope this all kind of helped a little bit. If you have any questions, just go ahead and post them in the comment section below, and I will come back and I will respond to those, or I'll do another live depending on how long it's going to take me to respond, right? So again, thank you so much for being here with me. I know I always say my lives are going to be about 15 minutes and they end up going to half an hour and 45 minutes. But I hope that this does encourage you, and I hope that you can start to make the shifts around the narrative that you're telling yourself about your health. And if you can reach out to me personally by sending me a direct message on Messenger, or you can simply, if you can call me. I'm pretty sure my phone number is in there, or you can do a video chat. But the Lead Your Health group is there if you want to go a little bit deeper into these particular practices, okay? My name is Gina, for those of you who don't know me, again. And I am here to let you know that it is possible to heal from autoimmunity, to heal from disease, simply by changing the narrative that you're telling yourself about your health. Thank you again for being here with me, and I will see you all again tomorrow, God's willing.